Part 1. Intro/What is it? Exodus chapter 20 verse 7 says, "You shall not take the name of Jehovah your God in vain, for Jehovah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name in vain." This is the third commandment that we are told about in Exodus. This commandment is all about the proper respect towards God. It is about honoring God's name and not using it in vain. To take God's holy name in vain, what this means is that we use his name with disrespect, irreverence, or when for the wrong purposes. This can even mean that we take God's name carelessly, profane, falsely, or as a justification for our actions in an oath. Now this last example that I mentioned here, justifying for one's actions, an example of that would be like if I sinned or said something along those lines, and my reasoning or excuse for my actions was saying something like, well, God made me like this. Yes, God did make us, and he made us in his image, as we can see in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 through 27. However, we are responsible for ourselves. If we mess up, we can't blame someone else or even God. We can see this found in Ezekiel chapter 18 verse 20 and also in Romans chapter 14 verse 12. Can a son be held responsible for something that his father did? Or even the other way around. Could a father be held responsible for something that the son had done? Another good thought that comes to mind when it comes to taking the Lord's name improperly or in vain is the word blasphemy. This word blasphemy is a term used often. However, the actual definition can get blurred at times when used interchanged with other words like swearing or cursing. When you look up an online definition, we are told that this word means profane, desecrating, or taking in vain the name of God, speaking harmful of God or his attributes, expressing disrespect, irreverence towards God, insults against God or Christ and their followers. So with this new definition in our minds here, when we combine this definition and the third commandment that we are given, this word blasphemy follows through with not taking the Lord's name in vain very closely. This word from the commandment vain is described as without effect or avail, worthless or unimportant, which is where we can get to start really understanding this commandment here. In other words, through Exodus, we are being told that whenever it comes to the Lord's name, we shouldn't be treating it as unimportant or like if it was worthless. This follows the definition that we are able to give to blasphemy earlier. All of these definitions that we have talked about so far, all of them point to what this commandment is getting at, how the name of God is something that is to be important and is something that should be treated as holy and worth a lot. What this means is that we are giving to God the proper respect and reverence. Now, depending on the context, reverence is defined as deep respect for someone or something, or could be defined as a regard or treat with a deep respect. Both of these definitions here point to the same thing, and that is not only the respect that we're supposed to be showing, but a deep respect. This feeling of reverence is something that is often tied together with awe and admiration. All these definitions point to the same kind of idea and meaning. They all talk about a high honor that is due. In this case, it is towards God, which is why this third commandment that we can read about is talking about how we shouldn't be taking the Lord's name in vain, and instead we are needing to show it the proper reverence and respect that he is due.